We are Gathering of the Geeks, podcast and YouTube show built around the things we as geeks all love. Hashtag we gather on Sundays. Thank you for checking out the one where we're sick of it. I'm one of your hosts, Emmet, and I'm joined by the Ted Lasso, my coach Beard, Chris Evans.
Hey.
I had YouTube open on another screen there, so as soon as our music ended, the YouTube music played in my ears, and I was like, "Oh God, what's happening?" I thought he hit the button again, and I wasn't sure what was happening. So I had a weird face, and then you had a weird face, so it was kind of fun.
My weird face because of your weird face. Like, what did I miss?
Yeah, that's right. Gathering of the Geeks is available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Gathering of the Geeks, and you will find us. So we've got a whole bunch of people in the comments already. What's up to Eric, Cookie, Grabs, Lauren, Ian, thanks so much for joining. Phil as well, thanks so much for joining us on this fine Sunday evening. Chris, how was your week, man? What'd you get up to?
Before we do that, I know Ian is trying to use emojis, but when he uses them, they come up as text.
Pink waving.
Yeah, so like last week, I think there was one like happy face smile.
I saw something weird, yeah.
Yeah. The emojis don't work though. That was what I was going to bring up.
Well, they work for some people, don't they?
Yeah, Phil's got an emoji here, the waving emoji.
And Eric does too.
Yeah. Eric has a sick one. See, I guess sometimes they work. I don't know. But Ian's, for whatever reason, never work. Oh, there we go. Turquoise white horns.
That's great.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Cookie Munch can see it. I was wondering how he got the pink hand. I can see it. Okay, so maybe if you're on a phone or a laptop, you could see it.
That's what I was thinking, depending on how they're watching and how they're sending these in as well.
Okay, maybe.
Tim, how's it going? Thanks so much for watching.
My week was good. I really can't complain. It was kind of busy. I watched a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I caught up on comics. I think it was last night. I was kind of on a little bit of a binge. I say a binge, but it was like 3 or 4 books.
Sometimes that's enough.
Yeah, sometimes that's enough. But it was good. I can't really complain. How about you?
Yeah, it was a good week as well. I did the same with you. I watched a lot this week, but we're going to get into a bunch here. So there was a horror movie that dropped, I want to say maybe 3 weeks ago, that is kind of making the rounds. Sick. So we both watched that. We're going to talk about that. And then we got a pretty exciting poll. And it's interesting, the poll that you posted last week. It was about spoilers. And, we were getting into The Last of Us that aired last Sunday. And, I'm glad you picked that poll because it's an idea that I often think about with spoilers. And, the game had come out, the review copies for the TV show, all 9 episodes were sent to reviewers for HBO's The Last of Us. So, avoiding spoilers. So we're going to get into that, and I'm excited about that poll. Actually, I like talking about spoilers as well. But
Tim asked, "How do you guys find time to watch so much?" I really don't know. I just kind of squeeze stuff in, and it just kind of happens.
As soon as I send my son to bed, I turn something on and I try and watch as much as possible before I have to go to sleep because I can only watch so much when the kids are awake.
Well, sometimes I don't mean to watch something, but like Sweet Tooth, for example, I just put it on as background noise.
You hadn't talked about that you were going to watch that, and all of a sudden you were knee deep into watching the show.
I just wanted background noise, then I got like sucked into it, and I started watching it again.
Yeah.
So sometimes it happens that way.
So what else did you read or watch this week?
Sweet Tooth was the big watch. Just as good as the first time I watched it. I enjoy Sweet Tooth a lot, and I'm really waiting for that second season.
Yeah, Netflix they did their kind of the trailer preview for 2023, and you had mentioned that the season 2 for Sweet Tooth's not on there. But they wrapped filming season 2 in June of last year.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting when that comes out.
I guess they're taking their time with it. I'm not sure, but I would love to see the next season soon because it's like I fell in love with it all over again. I kind of forgot about it, but then you watch it, it's like this is magical. And I also still want a Bobby. I want that creature.
I wonder if they're going to make little pop figures or something for them. It'd be kind of cool to get a Bobby pop figure.
Yeah, or some kind of something. I want one. So that was fun. I also read a bunch of comics. I caught up in Immortal X-Men. Have you read any of that?
None, but is that the cover this week with Xavier and he's got the broken mask?
Yeah.
Is that? Oh man, what a great cover!
Yeah, it's a beautiful cover. I'm not really a fan of the art in the interior art.
Mm-hmm.
It's very mixed for me because this is a pet peeve of mine. I hate when like a character looks fantastic standing still, I guess, but whenever they make them emote or move, all the detail is lost.
Right.
It's like, is this the same artist even? And it's one of those things. But the story was really good, and one hell of a twist at the end.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a good time. I also read the new Batman 131. I think I was behind on that, but I read 131. Did you check that out?
I thought we read that one already. That's
No.
first issue. Didn't we talk about that last week?
No.
Maybe not. I can't remember now.
Did we? Yes, we did. Okay, sorry, I'm behind. We did.
That's
You're right.
fine.
I might have read it again because I forgot.
Yeah.
But I caught up with Nightclub from Mark Millar, and this is where the binging comes in. Someone on Twitter, a friend of mine, posted that Nemesis Reloaded cover, and I agree. How have they not made a Bobby Pop yet? So a friend of mine posted, I was like, well, I wanted to read the first book, but I didn't even know they rebooted it. I didn't realize it's been that long since the first book.
Okay.
So I checked out this new one, Nemesis Reloaded #1, and that is such an interesting time. It's kind of like a comic book from the supervillain's perspective, like what you would imagine a Joker book would be. That's what this is. And he's got this like all white costume, which is a really fun contrast because it gets pretty bloody.
Oh,
he's very evil, I guess. I would highly recommend this book. It's very interesting and it's different. I'm probably going to go back and read the first arc of it. From what I understand, it's 4 issues long.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So that's not that bad then. But do you feel like you're missing anything from the original? No. Did you say Reloaded?
Yeah, it's called Reloaded, but from what I understand, it's like a reboot for new fans to come jump on. I don't know anything about the character. They don't tell you anything. Look, I didn't even know he was a villain at the start of the book. I just thought it was kind of crazy. But you find out, no, he is a villain.
Yeah, you're going
I guess
on
hence
a little
the
bit
title, Nemesis.
A Mark Millar kick here.
Kind of, yeah. Between Nightclub and this, maybe I'm a fan. Also, I was talking about it earlier. I didn't realize I've read Mark Millar before, like Civil War is his. I completely forgot that.
Right, yeah.
And I don't really love Civil War, so maybe that's why it doesn't register with me. But yeah, I'm kind of on a Millar kick, I guess. We're gonna keep doing this.
Yeah, keep rolling with it and see what happens, eh?
We're gonna keep rolling with
it. Nice. I haven't read any of those. I didn't read any of the Nightclub yet. You talked about it a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, the first issue. I feel like I'll get to that one. There you go. Yeah, great prices for sure. I remember we talked about that. And then that Nemesis thing, I'd never heard of it before, even the original one. And I barely knew that the Reloaded thing had come out. I don't know what it is with Mark Millar stuff, that he seems very self-marketed for his stuff. And maybe because it's like his own world and very much his own creations. What's the publisher for Nemesis?
Image, I want to say.
Is it the Image one?
I think it's
because I think I don't know what that is, if it makes a difference or not. But I feel like he feels like he has a lot of books, because I do see them every once in a while. But I don't know if I'm seeing the fanfare, the marketing for them as much as I expected from a name like Mark Millar.
From what I'm gathering, because I've just become a super fan overnight. Everything is done by him. He's a creator kind of guy, creator owned.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's why, because I don't see anything about Mark Millar either. If I didn't see this cover on on Twitter, I wouldn't even know this book came out.
Right.
It would have went completely under my radar. But I saw the cover. Hey, that looks cool. I'm gonna read that.
Yeah,
And here we are.
the Chris specialty. You make a good cover, you'll get a book that's read.
I kind of do judge a book by its cover because I want to read it based on the cover.
Right.
Tim asks, does your comic stack or show film get attacked first when you get time? Which one do you go to first?
If there's something new, like if there's a new comic to read or a new TV show to watch, is that what he's talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Which will I do first? Well, like last week, as soon as we were off the air, I watched Last of Us right away. So I would watch something, I think, first rather than read it first. I feel like, and we're going to get into it, spoilers are much heavier for TV show and movies online over comic stuff. So maybe I want to absorb that stuff first before getting into comics.
That's fair.
And almost like comics now, I'm okay waiting until they're all collected. And I'm okay with that now too. So I think I'd rather watch something as soon as it's out rather than read something as soon as it's out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with watch too, just because, like I said, the spoilers aren't as rampant with comics.
Yeah.
But there are books like I will run to read as soon as they're available.
I agree with that.
It just kind of depends what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm actually behind on Moon Knight. I didn't realize that too. I know. Who am I these days? I'm disappointed in myself. So, yeah, it definitely watched for me.
Mm-hmm.
Ian says, Last of Us is on now. Why are we here? To build the anticipation.
It'll still be there in 45 minutes, Ian. It'll still be there.
Yeah, you got to have the anticipation. You got to be ready for The Last of Us. And what better way to get ready for The Last of Us than to talk about everything but The Last of Us?
That's right. Little levity before you get your heart punched out.
Oh, I'm sure that's probably happening tonight, too.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say watch for you both. You've never spoiled a comic for me, but you have spoiled like 50 movies. This thing. I mean, we do all we can. We do.
I'm trying this year. I'm really gonna try this year. I'm making an effort to not spoil things on this show or any shows that I'm in particular. I'm gonna try really hard this year.
I have faith in Emmet.
That's right.
I have faith that we can do this together.
That's right.
As far as watching, other than Sweet Tooth, I watched the new Night Court. Have you ever watched the original?
No. No,
not a fan.
I don't know if I am or not, but I saw a whole bunch of clips from the old show online.
Okay.
In the last week or so, and that big tall bald guy makes me laugh just looking at him. I don't know why.
Yeah, he's got a fun look to him, I guess. Well, I watched the new episodes because I don't really remember watching Night Court, but I remember being aware of it, and I like John LeClaire, and I love Melissa Rauch from Big Bang Theory, of course. So there's 2 episodes out. They're on Peacock, and I think they're okay. I'm with Grabs here. Night Court was not great. Yes, I agree with that. I think that it's funny. Well, Melissa Rauch and John LeClaire are funny. I think everybody else maybe needs some work. We'll get there, I think. I'm going to keep watching it. It's nice to have a comedy on, like a lighthearted comedy, because typically, there aren't too many that I watch, unless it's a rerun of something. So it's nice to have something new to watch that's like that.
What's the premise of this show?
Night Court is essentially every night is a new thing. Every night is like a new group of cases, and it's the interactions between the judge and the public defender, prosecutor, all that.
Gotcha.
You might like it. I don't know. It's decent, I think. It's got some fun stuff in it.
All right.
Zeddy says, I feel like that's where having digital is helpful. You can read something wherever at the click of a button versus seeing a movie. You have to find somewhere to go to a theater to watch. I agree with that, too. It's nice having streaming digital options. He says Emmet is going to make an effort to start spoiling more comics.
Right. I'm going to flip the script here.
I might try to do that too. Everybody dies in nightclub.
That's right.
Ian asks, have you seen Endgame? Oh, he's asking grab that. Sorry. The new Night Court feels very 80s, which isn't great in 2023. So yeah, that's another thing about it. Night Court, of course, is an older sitcom, and this doesn't feel updated. it feels like we're watching something made at that time with modern actors. And I
Like
think that's
the comedy is the same.
the comedy and the overall flow of the show. It has that classic kind of sitcom feel to it.
Hmm.
So I'd like to see if it balances out later on. Like, the first few episodes of anything can be rocky.
Sure.
So I'm kind of curious about that. I'm going to stick with it. Grab suggests I watch Ghost. It's on the list, and I do want to watch it, so I will get to it. I decided to watch another episode of Velma. We're not doing that though. Phil says I've been looking for a new comedy to watch. You can try Night Court. It's kind of fun.
And hopefully we'll be able to watch Ted Lasso soon.
Yes. Spring. It's coming. That first image was great too.
Yeah. The stare down.
Ian started watching a fun comedy called Starstruck. Very British, pretty funny. The very British part might be difficult. When you have to say very British, I'm skeptical.
That's funny.
You know what I mean? I'm a little skeptical.
I get you. Has their own sense of humor, that's for sure.
Yes. As far as movies, I watched Pearl, and I adored Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to watch, I think it's called Battle of the Super Sons.
Yeah, you said that, yeah.
I was going to watch that, but I was like, hey, Pearl is out. I'm going to watch Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
And that was quite a good decision, I think.
Oh, yeah. I saw your tweet. You liked it very much.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think that it's one of the best horror movies in a while. I liked it a lot more than X.
Mm-hmm.
It has a whole different vibe to it. It's not just a slasher movie. It's something else.
It's
and
exactly
Mia Goth is a scary lady.
Mm-hmm.
I understand she's probably completely healthy mentally and in life. I don't think I can see her that way from this point on.
I think that's a good thing. If you can't unsee an actress or an actor a certain way from a portrayal.
Yeah, there's this scene, it's not a spoiler, where she has a really long monologue where it's just her speaking and the camera's on her face, and it's odd. It's very uncomfortable, and it's also a good time though. So check it out. It's also and it's very violent, surprisingly. Didn't expect it to be as violent as it is.
Well, that's good. Can't go wrong with lots of violence.
Just a good old Hollywood time.
There you go.
Cookie says we watch X today, just see the Pearl references seamless. I want to do that too, to see how they fit together, because it's interesting. I don't think, even though Pearl is a prequel, I don't think you can watch Pearl before you watch X. I think you have to watch X first.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think I also Ian's having this conversation on Twitter a little bit when he's watching Yellowstone, and he asked when to watch 1883 and when to watch 1923. I think it helps to watch the thing that came after the thing that comes after it in the timeline, but before the prequel, more
Like
or less in the timeline. Yeah, exactly. Watch the release order, not the timeline. I think that's an important thing. So I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's just better that way, because if you watch Pearl first, you have an idea going into X when you meet Pearl, like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, I think it kind of kills it for you, no pun intended. So It's probably better to watch X than Pearl, even though Pearl is the better movie. And now I want to see Maxine as soon as possible.
Yeah, when's that coming out? Is that this year? Later this year, or?
They haven't said it yet. They haven't dated it for some reason. Tim says you really need to understand why this land and family is important to care about the prequels. That's about Yellowstone, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I think that goes the same with X. For people who do enjoy both, I think it helps to understand the older couple from X first before you get to the Pearl stuff.
Phil says Pearl really enhances X. I agree. It actually makes you more immersed in that universe too, which is surprising, given the big time jump.
Mm-hmm.
That is the fanciest typo I've ever seen. Why can't mine look like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got the comma and the accented U over the E. Nice job, Tim.
Yeah, I don't know what. I think Tim is speaking French or something here. I don't know what's cool. Ian says, "Is it me or is Yellowstone season 5 a step down from the rest?"
That's the newest season that's out right now. I actually enjoy it more than season 4. I find that season 4 was the weakest of all the seasons so far, but that's totally a personal preference. Much like X and Pearl is a personal preference for everyone who seems to like it, because I do not like either of those movies. But
You
I'm
didn't
so
like Pearl either?
happy. No, I did not. So
Oh,
happy that you guys love it so much.
I do.
Yeah, that's great, and I'm liking the Mia Goth stuff. She seems to be getting like all the praise, which is really nice.
Mhm.
And her work on Pearl specifically, like her and what's his name who did the
David.
series. What's his name?
Oh, Ty West.
Ty West. Yeah, her kind of producing and writing credits that she's getting for Pearl is great, and I hope the the adulation and the admiration for Mia Goth continues, because she is very good. I would agree with that. Specifically, you're talking about that monologue in Pearl, Chris. She's very, very, very good.
She is scary. It's pretty cool.
Right on.
Ian says, Tim's mom says to step down. Emmet, you're wrong.
I won't disagree with Tim's mom.
Cookie says, I will watch Me and Goth on anything at this point. I needed to pair up with Florence Pugh. I want that too, but let's add Jenna Ortega with that.
Yeah, that's like a heist movie or something.
I want the trio of them doing something together. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's like some kind of weird cooking movie. I want it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would work. Jenna Ortega is the biggest actress in the world right now. Mia Goth's not far behind with all her adulation. Of course, Florence Pugh continues on her meteoric rise, as they say. Yeah, exactly, Tim. Your mom lives 15 minutes from me. That's why I will not disagree with her. Never, 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 never. Yeah, add Anna de Armas as well, Chris. Look at that.
Maybe like the villain that they have to defeat or something.
That's right. I watched Blade Runner 2049 for the, I don't know, second or third time sometime this week. And I didn't forget that she was in the movie, but I forgot how much Anna de Armas was in Blade Runner 2049.
She's in it quite a bit.
So that was kind of a nice little a pleasant surprise, as it were. Anything else to watch this week?
No, that is it.
So I didn't read any. Yeah, I didn't read any new comics this week. I read some old ones. I reread The Closet again. I reread Tom King and Mitch Garrett's The Sheriff of Babylon. I finally got the collected issue from that. I think sometime before Christmas, so I finally reread that. I read it digitally before. And then I started to reread earlier today Doomsday Clock from Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, Brad Anderson, and it got me excited to actually rewatch the Watchmen HBO series, which I hadn't watched since it came out. I'm always looking for new shows to watch, but there's something comforting about watching shows that you've seen once already, but then you find the second level of enjoyment after watching it again, much like I did with watching Rings of Power the week before. Just that next level of secondary enjoyment with rewatching something.
I think knowing what's coming and also just the comfort of it is what helps too.
Yep. Yeah. And like I said, finding stuff that you missed before and just appreciating it a little bit more. So, so I didn't read anything new this week. I actually went, before our show, I went to look back to see if there was any books that I would have wanted to read, and there was nothing that really stood out for me this week. Not that I can think of. The Batman one, Bane, One Bad Day, I didn't get to yet. And like I said to you, the Catwoman one comes out this coming week. So, like you were saying, they're trying to get that collected issue to be coming out soon. So they got to release these books before that. So I'll get to those in due time. But what I watched this week was something that I kind of wanted to talk about with Star Wars. Yeah, so me and my son are just pretty heavily in Star Wars right now. I got him some toy lightsabers or me and my wife and we can't remember if Santa or not got him lightsabers for Christmas. So we've been having lightsaber battles pretty consistently in our house, and he wants to watch more lightsaber battles. So we were watching the sequel trilogy with Rey and Kylo Ren and all that kind of stuff. And there are lightsaber battles, and there's a pretty epic one, obviously, in Last Jedi.
Yeah.
But there's no Jedi in the sequel trilogy. Like there's Luke, but he's a grumpy old man, and then he's a Force ghost. And there's Kylo Ren, and then there's Rey, and then there's Finn sometimes. Sometimes. But when you go back and we just watched Empire today, actually, we watched New Hope the other day. And again, it's good. There's lightsaber battles, but there's no Jedi. Like there's Obi-Wan a little bit in New Hope, and he has one lightsaber battle. And then there's Luke pretty much throughout the entirety of it as well. So, and then we had, in a couple, maybe it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we watched the prequel trilogy. And there's Jedi all over the place with lots of lightsabers. And I found so much enjoyment in seeing Jedi. And I feel like that's something that was missing from a lot of Star Wars that I was watching, specifically when you watch them all in a row. There's nothing wrong with them. That's not what I'm trying to get at about new Star Wars or old Star Wars or new old Star Wars. It's just the enjoyment I found with watching Jedi and the lightsabers and the lore of the Jedi as well, which is something I underappreciated from the prequel series. The Jedi Council, even the just all the lore, the Jedi Temple, the archive. Yeah, the presence, just having Jedi around. And, we're talking about the Mandalorian, or even with Kenobi, where there's that quick little the Order 66 scene at the start of Kenobi, and then even the trailer for season 3 of Mando, where there seems to be something happening with Order 66 or something with the Jedi. And just seeing all the lightsabers, the different colors, gives me a sense of a weird feeling. So we watched Empire today, and that's fine. But last week I watched Tales of the Jedi. Have you seen any of those?
No, and I was just reminded that they were out recently. I think I'm gonna watch them. I was really excited to watch the Dooku short specifically.
Yeah, so I think it was Ian on Twitter, and maybe it felt like months ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, that he was talking about Tales of the Jedi. And I don't know, I glossed it over. I didn't really know what it was. I kind of thought it was something to do with that Resistance show that had come out.
Resistance?
That other, the other anime show. Yeah, I didn't know what it was. I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to get into that, and I don't want to get into more anime or anything like that. But so I watched the first episode of Tales of Jedi, and it's an Ahsoka episode. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. She's a baby, and then there's no Jedi. But then the next couple are Dooku episodes. I'm like, well, this is great.
Yeah,
and like the more of the Jedi, from the prequels, there's lots of the prequel series. There's lots of Jedi, but then there's this Count Dooku character where you just kind of hear who he is. You don't understand who he is. And getting these little shorts about Count Dooku, you get young Qui-Gon in there, you get Mace Windu in there, and lots of Jedi. And then there's more Ahsoka stuff, and it kind of fills in a little bit of gaps with the Clone Wars and Rebels. And all that kind of stuff. So the shorts, again, we always talk about this, Chris, when we're talking about comic series, how limited series are great. You don't have to put too much time or investment in them. So these, the shorts for Tales of the Jedi, some of the episodes are 15 minutes long, 17 minutes long. So they're easily digestible. And you mentioned the Dooku stuff, and that was the big highlight for me. I think there's 4 episodes with Dooku stuff, and there's Yaddle in there.
I didn't know there was that many episodes with him. I like Dooku a lot from the prequels. He might, next to Anakin, he's probably my favorite character.
Yeah.
It's Christopher Lee, so it's kind of hard to go wrong.
And he's got the cool curved lightsaber.
He's got like a cane saber thing. It's neat.
That's right. So I had a great time with Tales of the Jedi. I hope they do more of them. I hope they fill in more of the gaps for the Jedi. That's what I was looking for after watching the prequel series. And if you want to learn more about the Jedi by watching it, and I don't know if this is true about the Clone Wars or Rebels, because I've only seen a little bit of Clone Wars, but finding more lore about the Jedi after watching the prequel series was something that I was really interested in. And then finding Tales of the Jedi, was really outstanding. So it's a weird thing about, we don't really know what's happening with Star Wars in movies. We know what's happening with their TV show. Obviously, Ahsoka's coming out. I think sometime later this year. But again, that's after the.
I think it's within probably after Mandalorian is my guess. Like, as soon as
Yeah,
that
that
ends,
would be
we're gonna
my
get
guess too.
Ahsoka.
Sure. So it's already after the fall of the Jedi, all that kind of stuff. So I hope there's more Tales of the Jedi. I hope there's more Jedi anything. That's what I'm eager for with Star Wars going forward, is more Jedi stuff, because I found the Jedi stuff so much more intriguing than anything really. Any of the the Rebel Alliance, the even the Dark Side or anything like that. Just something about Jedi, and I don't know why it hit me like within the last 3 weeks. Maybe it is just the lightsabers. Is that? I think it is that simple, but I also think it's the lore, the history of the lightsabers as well, Chris. And like I know there's a lot more. I know there's books. I know there's comics. I know all of that stuff, but there's something about seeing it. Yeah, you're right, Tim. There's something about seeing all those lightsabers. Yeah, exactly. And like it just, I don't know. Chris talked about. And I don't know if I know this about you or not, but I don't know what your thoughts are about the prequel series. I don't know what your thought even about the sequel series, but something about the sequel series is lacking because of the lack of Jedi. And I understand that's the story. But yeah, I don't know. Take that however you want to take that, Chris.
I think Star Wars is we haven't really covered or crossed that bridge very much. Tim says, I think the Acolyte D+ show is set in that time. I believe it is too. Really excited for the Acolyte. So am I. I'm actually okay. I might be more excited for the Acolyte than I am Ahsoka.
I don't know about that one.
It's about a Sith infiltrating the Jedi, so it's really steeped in that lore. It should be cool. As far as the prequels go, I'm not really a fan. I don't like Phantom Menace. I actually am one of the 4 people who like Attack of the Clones.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one's cool. I do enjoy Revenge of the Sith a lot. But as a whole, I could have done without the prequels. But like I said, Revenge of the Sith is awesome. I could watch Attack of the Clones. I don't really ever care to sit through Phantom Menace again. Sequel trilogy, I love Force Awakens. That is probably my favorite Star Wars movie, period.
Nice.
Last Jedi, I can do without completely. Although the Red Room fight is pretty cool.
Sure.
And Rise of Skywalker is fun. It's fun. Also, the lightsaber battle between Rey and Kylo Ren is badass.
I agree with you mostly about the sequel series. I agree with Force Awakens. That's great. I remember watching Last Jedi recently and how stupid I thought it was. How stupid I thought all the character choices were just dumb. And I agree with you about Rise of Skywalker. It's kind of fun, but it's like fun. by that point they already had screwed it up. It's like Ryan Johnson came in and said, "Oh, I'm going to tell my take." I'm going to give you a trilogy. That's right. I'm going to give you my take on the Jedi and the dark side and all that kind of stuff. So then Rise of Skywalker tried to fix a whole bunch of things and let's give them stuff they've seen before and see if they like that.
I did it. I
succeeded. So there you go. They got
part.
You, Chris. That's good.
But I think Star Wars is an interesting property because now we're getting so much of it and we're getting different avenues of it. And this is really what I always wanted to see is different flavors of Star Wars. So if you're not into the Jedi stuff, you have other things now to watch. Like Mandalorian is fantastic. It's probably the best Star Wars media we've had in the last, ever, maybe, since the original trilogy, I mean. Because whether you like the prequel, sequel trilogy, whatever, Mandalorian is special. It's just something special. So I would say it's probably the best since the original trilogy itself. And I didn't love Book of Boba Fett. It was okay, but you got that too. Andor was beloved by so many people, so many fans. We have Ahsoka coming, Acolyte. I like that we're getting deeper into this universe. We're starting to see different stuff. Like I really love Solo too.
Yep.
Solo, I think, is a lot more fun than people give it credit for. And it's interesting when you look at Solo because it is one of those films where it was filming. Studio said, "Hey, we're not going to do this. they went back and redid a lot of stuff. Like it doesn't even have the same villain it was meant to.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy it though. I think that I can't pronounce his name, but the new Han Solo was great. The actor.
Yeah.
I would like to see him return.
Yeah, I watched that on, I forget what day it was. I was sick this week on Friday. So I watched Solo actually, and I watched Rogue One a couple days before that. And the teases they have in Solo for a future like Solo 2
Yeah,
are plenty. They
they
put
are.
so many teases in there, and even if half of them turned out, it'd be like, oh, cool. I would definitely see that.
I'd just like to see another. I would even be cool with the Lando movie. Give me
Yeah.
that guy's Lando again. Cool with that.
Mm-hmm.
Tim asked thoughts on Star Wars living on D plus now. Films will come, but still a ways out.
Well, this is my thought about everything that you're saying about the Star Wars shows, how there is variety, but I don't know if there is variety. I think everything that's come post the prequel series has felt fairly similar to me.
Okay.
And specifically the Disney Plus stuff, Andor, and I want to watch Andor, but I'm thinking to myself now with what I want from Star Wars, which is a very dangerous thing to do. I usually frown and groan at people when they say, you know what, this needs to be this and this needs to be that, and that's the only way I'll find enjoyment from it. But I'm gonna talk out of both sides of my mouth right now and say that I want, and I was just talking about, I want the Jedi stuff. Andor, I don't think has it. Obviously, Mandalorian has a little bit. Kenobi had, yes, but it only had Kenobi in it. So,
and it was wonderful.
Yeah, some parts of it. I think you liked it more than me, as far as I can.
I like Kenobi a lot.
It's just ever since the prequel series, they seemingly have gone down a certain path, and about how to tell Star Wars. And on Disney Plus now, I think there's going to have to be Star Wars in theater again. I forget who brought this up, and I think it was Frank on the Nerd Room show last week when they were doing their box office predictions and kind of their fantasy pool, how Star Wars in December in theaters was a thing. That was their flag they had planted in the sand. So I hope it goes to movies again. I'm not going to go to the theater to see it, but that not neither here nor there. But I think the spectacle of a Star Wars movie is definitely needed again. And I don't know about the Old Republic, the High Republic, all that kind of stuff. I do hope they take it in a certain way to get away from the Skywalker saga. Hopefully that's long gone from now, and I want to see the Jedi at the highest, at the peak. At the peak. That's what I really would like to see. And if Star Wars isn't that, that's fine, because like you said, Mandalorian isn't that, but it's still damn good Star Wars. So yeah,
some great Star Wars there. I like that Star Wars is living on Disney Plus at the moment. I think it allows for a greater variety. We're getting different stuff, different characters. Characters that may have not had as much, would not have as much focus if they were in a movie. Like if Mandalorian was in a movie, we would have not got what we got at all.
Right.
Kenobi was in 3 movies. Obi-Wan Kenobi is in technically 4 movies, and we didn't get any of this depth that we got from him just now.
Right.
But also, I'm a big supporter of the Kenobi series, so maybe I don't count.
Yeah.
I think that having a movie every so often is the way to go, because it brings the spectacle back to Star Wars. What that movie is, I don't know. You can have it, a Jedi-centric thing. You could have it just Star Wars, like classic stuff. I don't know. But I'm up for whatever they want to do. But I really like this era of Star Wars. I'm really enjoying the variety. Phil says Solo is greatly underappreciated. Agreed.
I agree with that. I had a great time with it.
Ian says Jedi Fallen Order is so good. You got to learn more about the ancient Force lore. Really cool. You should play that with your son, Emmet. He
tried playing it. He got too frustrated with the gameplay.
I got frustrated with it myself.
Yeah, that's right. I was frustrated with the gameplay. So we're excited for Jedi Survivor, though. So, like, when I played God of War, Ragnarok on my PS5 pretty much daily ever since, I think, maybe my birthday on the 26th or the 27th. And my son watched basically every moment of me playing that game. So he knows the story pretty much back to back and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like when I get Jedi Survivor, he'll do this. He'll do the same thing. It's like watching a movie. If you're
Yeah,
watching
right.
somebody playing a video game, it's just like him watching a movie. So yeah, I look forward to playing Jedi Survivor.
Grab says Solo is my favorite Disney era movie. That's cool. I think it's
Nice.
very good.
Mhm.
Bill says I'd love a Solo D plus
Right.
series exploring Han related with Jabba. That would be fun too. Like that would be a good time.
Yep.
But I think like the guy's universally hated for some reason because he's not Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
I don't know. Star Wars has stayed in safe space post sequel trilogy, close to what's familiar. I go for that, I guess. Zeddy says a theatrical Star Wars movie should go back to being a spectacular experience, which is why I'm cool with this more serialized storytelling. Exactly. I'm with Zeddy. Thoughts on a hypothetical Kenobi season 2? Give it to me. I don't know what they'll do with it, but I want it. And hopefully this time they can tighten it up a little bit, because if I do have a complaint on Kenobi season 1, it's that I think it would have been a better 2.5-hour movie than a series. So yeah, if they want to do season 2, all for it. Just tighten it up a little bit. Would you watch that?
I would watch it, yes, but I would not be excited about it, because I was very excited for Kenobi for the Anakin aspect of it, and I felt like almost we didn't. I felt like we could have used a little bit more. There was that one flashback scene of them training a little bit.
Yeah.
I could have used one more of those, and like that the prequel stuff. I love the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah, it's great.
So I could have used a little bit more of that. Yeah. Yep.
Eric says, I also want the next film to be completely different and separate from anything we've seen before. I agree with that too. I want to keep going with, like, if I were in charge, I would want to keep going with this flavor, different Star Wars flavors, but I understand if they want to go back to what works, I'm cool with it. And I'm easygoing though. Just give me something good and I'll watch it.
Yep.
Next trilogy should be the classic era of the Jedi. I'll go for that.
Yep.
I'd also like to personally see a Star Wars story, which is why I'm pulling for that Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron film. Yeah, watch it.
I would watch it again, but I feel like we've seen
that
Star Wars. That's all. We've seen a Rogue Squadron. We've seen the dog fights. We've seen the X-wing, the Y-wings, the B-wings, all of that stuff.
We've seen
I want to see something we haven't seen before. That's all.
I'm open. As long as it looks good, I'm going to watch it. I mean, even if it doesn't look good, it's Star Wars. I'm still going to watch it. I'm still there.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Star Wars. It's one of those. It's a property where you just say, "Yep, so there's something Star Wars. I will watch it." And whether it's good or bad, I will continue to watch it as well. Like I'm going to watch Andor, and the first episode I know it was released as 3 episodes for a very good reason. The first episode I didn't enjoy that much, but I'll keep watching it because. Star Wars has you. It's like a drug. You can't get away from it sometimes. Nor would you want to, because it's not a hurtful drug.
I was gonna say it's kind of okay. It's a good time.
Yep.
I like it.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I watched this week. A lot of Star Wars stuff and a lot of ruminating about how my feelings towards Star Wars, and how good they are for kids as well. Like I remember watching them as a kid, but there was something about watching it with my son as well. I mean, I don't know if it was the same with the sequel series as much, because like my son likes Babu Frick, of course, and he loves seeing him in the Mando season 3 trailer.
Yeah.
But I think the prequel trilogy, aside from a couple parts in Revenge of the Sith, are very kid friendly. Much like the original trilogy, basically Return of the Jedi is all kid friendly. So it really, really helps. So, I don't want to be a lame father for 2023, but my son is getting really interested in a lot of stuff that I really enjoy now that he's going to be 8 this year. So we're enjoying a lot of things right now, which is a lot of fun. Yeah. Star Wars is good for the soul, Phil. That's exactly right.
I like Ian's idea too. Give me a Darth Bane trilogy, the creation of the Rule of Two, a trilogy focused on the Sith, not the Jedi. That would be fun.
I agree with that. Maybe it's just because there's more Jedi in the prequel trilogy than Sith. Obviously, there's Darth Maul and Dooku, and the Emperor, all that kind of stuff. But I would be okay with that too. And that's what's cool about the Dooku stuff. in Tales of the Jedi is seeing Dooku as the Jedi, and seeing his descent, if you will, that kind of stuff. I don't know who Darth Bane is, so that's cool. That's again, I want to see more of the stuff I don't know. I want to see more Jedi and more Sith and all that good stuff.
All the guys.
All of the guys, all of the things.
All the things, all the lightsabers. Give me all the colors.
Exactly, all the colors, all the purple and pink and different. I'll take it all.
I want to go back to Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I just remember you went there and how much you can just reabsorb again.
Oh, it's amazing. I want to go. I just want to stay there.
All right, guys. So that's what we read, what we watched this week, and kind of a little quick thought about Star Wars. Because you're right, Chris. I don't know if we've talked about it that much.
A little bit, not in depth.
Yeah, so I think it'd be good when Mando season 3 comes out. We can talk about that weekly, and Ahsoka as well. All right, Chris. Let's get to our poll. Or do you want to do the poll, or do you want to do Sick first? What do you want to end on?
Let's end on the poll.
I would agree with that. Okay, Sick from Peacock came out last week. From our close friends, Zeddy watched it and liked it. Phil, I'm pretty sure he liked it. I haven't listened to his Phil at the movies this week yet, but I know we talked about Pearl and Sick, I think, in this week's episode. So it kind of had me excited to watch it. A new horror movie, always in for that. And it seemingly from last year, the indie horror movies took over our space a lot, Chris. So it was something that I was excited about watching. So you watched it first, Chris. What were your did you know about the movie going in? Because I didn't know anything about the movie. I just knew it was a slasher film. And then what about your enjoyment of the movie as well?
I'd seen people talking about it. I kept seeing the poster, and I was like, okay, I'll probably watch this. And then Phil actually messaged me and said, hey, you might like this. So that was a pretty solid recommendation. So I checked it out. I also saw like a bunch of our friends really like this movie. So like, okay, I'm going to watch it. And I checked it out, and I think it's okay. I don't dislike it necessarily, but it's not, I don't like it as much as everybody else seems to. I think it's got some good stuff in it, but overall, it's not something I'm going to go back to.
I agree with most of that. I found 75% of the movie very enjoyable. 25%, I almost was cringed at watching it. And that's the start of the movie, aside from the quick little slasher bits. And then a certain point up until the end of the movie as well. So I didn't know that it was a COVID-based horror movie.
I didn't know.
I didn't know what sick meant. It could have meant, the person was sick or anything like that. I don't know. I haven't seen very much COVID-related things. I don't know if I've seen any new TV shows that deal with COVID. Not that I can think of. Or even movies. Chris, have you seen any that stand out to you?
There was something recently. I can't remember what it was, though, but it was a TV series that it featured that. Also, that Zoe Kravitz movie that came out last year. I don't remember the name of it. Kimmy or something? Was it Kimmy?
Yeah, Kimmy, that's it. Yep.
It was featured there. And it's been here in the Interview with the Vampire mentioned it as well. If you remember, they mentioned the pandemic.
Yep, you're right. Yep.
It's been around, but I think this is the most in your face it's been.
Yep.
And to me, that was a big turnoff.
I agree with you.
Yeah. I feel like we just lived it. It's very fresh. It was not a fun time. It's not really something I want to see on screen.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that, but I also think the way that they did it wasn't very smart. I don't think it was innovative in any way. I don't know if I'm not going to spoil it for the love of God. But I text you. I think I was 5 minutes into the movie, and I said, "Oh, this is a COVID horror movie," and you were like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, well, that's upsetting," because you're right. We lived it. We all lived COVID, and I know people who have died from COVID. My
I do
wife
too.
works in a hospital. And I think at certain points, I don't know if it is a joke. I think that one point during the movie where the masks are brought up and it's played off like a joke. And at that moment, I was literally like, I could feel my eyes rolling in the back of my head. It was very cringe for me. So the stuff that I didn't like about it was the COVID related stuff. The stuff that I did like about it was the straight up slasher stuff.
Yeah.
Like the two leads, I thought they were, I don't know if likable is the right word, because they were a little younger and not relatable. But I like this idea of two people going to a house and then a home invasion type of thing. I
Mhm.
like that story. I like I like that the two leads also were just as powerful or as strong as the people attacking them. Like it felt like these two women were capable of handling themselves. Like the one woman falls out of the house and she breaks her leg, but she tapes up and she keeps on going.
That was
And
cool.
yeah, like they didn't stop. Like at a certain point, we were watching it and it felt like it was getting kind of kind of tropey, like, oh, you're running back into the house, or you're not running fast enough, or you're not running away. But I like the idea of them kept fighting, and the killers also were just normal people as well, which I also liked. At times they felt a little overpowered, a little bit, specifically the one guy towards the end, I think. But there was something about the two leads that I found enjoyable. That at sometimes it feels like they're no match for the people trying to kill them. They're just like, I don't know what it is. It's little girls or something. It's a weird way of saying it, but these felt like, even though they're teenagers, they're in college or university, it felt like they were still strong and could fight back in a way which I liked.
Cookie says I went in blind. It was immediately triggered. It was good though. I'd rewatch it. I like the lead girl, and I think that's kind of the thing about this movie. You get triggered from it, but there's stuff that is good about it. And you mentioned a lot of it, and specifically what I liked was that these two girls were able to handle themselves. It wasn't kind of that typical slasher where they're the first to die.
Right.
They make some dumb decisions along the way, but it's a slasher film. It's kind of expected. Like,
Yep.
yes, we will go back into the house. That makes perfect sense. It just
Exactly.
happens. It's part of it.
Yep.
And then again, the killer, that aspect of it, them being human, really appreciate that. I've talked about it. Halloween, Scream, those are my slashers. Those are both humans.
Yes.
And I like to see that these killers are not immortal. They're gonna get hurt. They're gonna get slow. And
Well, yeah. Sorry.
and that happens, which I think is cool.
Well, yeah, like specifically during the one point where you feel like one of the killers, something terribly bad happens to him, and you're like, "Whoa, I didn't see that coming." I like, and how it happened and who did it. I'm like, "Oh, that's a little different. I haven't seen something like that before." So again, obviously, it's very tropey what happens after that. But I feel like just a couple of things where it's like, "Whoa, I haven't seen something like that before," where they can handle themselves, and the killers and the captors aren't always, and eventually they're always not the smartest people at the end of the movie, but during the movie throughout they're not always on top and the smartest people in the room.
Yeah, that realistic part I liked.
Yep.
But I think Tim sums it up pretty well here. I totally agree that featuring COVID is just too real, and that's the thing. If I'm not going to spoil the ending, but if the ending were different, I think I would have been much more on board with this movie. But the ending just really took me out.
Yep.
So, but again, it's not a bad movie. I liked most of it. Like you said, I love the slasher stuff too. It's really top-notch slashers things. The tropes and everything, they work. The protagonists are smart. The antagonists are pretty decent, I would say.
Yep.
I just didn't love it as much as everybody else did.
Yep, I agree, and it's a good start for horror movies, I think, too. Like I said, I don't hate the movie. I don't think it's bad. I just think it has moments in it.
No grabs. We will not save you the time with spoilers.
We're not. It's not happening this year. God damn it.
Nope. I'm gonna help Emmet with that too. I'm not gonna spoil things either.
All right,
Optimus
let's.
Prime does not show up in it.
That's right. Well, let's talk spoilers then, Chris.
Oh.
So you had a poll you put up this week, and it was a very interesting poll. Like I said, I think it had a lot to do with The Last of Us and how we were going to deal with spoilers on our show. So how do you guys feel about spoilers? Do they ruin your experience? Are you fine with them? So you had I hate spoilers, Chris. You had I love spoilers. Minor spoilers are okay, and then you had others. So I hate spoilers won with 50% of our vote. Minor spoilers were okay with second place. I love spoilers in third, and then other. So we did have some really good comments, which I do want to read. Matthew Malecki on Twitter says he generally avoids them, but he doesn't get bent out of shape if I'm spoiled. I just watched No Time to Die last week and was spoiled on the ending, yet I love the movie and it still generated an emotional response from me in the ending. Mr. Caruso from the Vigilante 1939 says, I want to know everything and see how it gets there. So he wants it all, which is fun. That's right. I think that might be one of our first polls ever, Chris, that didn't have that as an option.
It's like there's not too many without it.
Ricky Zed on Twitter says, more than the spoilers, I dislike the lacking the courtesy to ask someone if they have seen or read the thing they're about to discuss. Once something has been around for a bit, it's kind of whatever, but when it's days after release, Comic Guy Steve from Midlife Vices says, after a reasonable amount of time passes, and that depends on the medium, I think theater releases should get more time than streaming, just because of availability. Telling me that X appears in a movie is okay. Telling me that X dies is different. So many variables. Zeddy says he doesn't mind reading about them as long as I don't catch the leak online. I'm good. Cookie says, now that my memory isn't what it used to be, I never remember spoilers anyways, so I love a spoiler review.
That is my favorite comment out of this batch.
Her gif is Gandalf saying, I have no memory of this place.
Yeah, that was my favorite comment.
Yeah. Phil says he's not a huge fan of spoilers. What do we got here? Man Thing 2099 says, honestly, I'm indifferent about them for the most part. I've never found myself getting mad over them. I think it sucks for others, but I'm meh over it. Flash 33 says, I generally try to avoid spoilers as much as possible if I plan on checking out a series that catches my interest. Same with my brother. Thanks for the comments and replies on our tweet, guys. Thanks so much. Chris, how are you feeling about spoilers? Does it ruin it for you? Yeah, what do you think?
I don't like them. No, I'm not really I'm not really a big fan of spoilers. I don't think they ruin the experience, but they do they take something away from it. Mm-hmm. And for me, like a minor spoiler is okay. Like if it's something that I probably could figure out from a trailer or I've seen in a trailer, I guess it's fine. But when you're talking about like a big twist, no, I don't want to know that. That's just me. I remember like in the lead up to Spider-Man No Way Home, which I think we can talk about openly now. It's been a while.
It's been a calendar year. I think
it's been a while. With that movie, they try to keep the extra Spideys a secret. Well, we all knew they were in it. It's fine. But the one that was not confirmed was Matt Murdock in the earlier part of the film. That was the camera that was not confirmed. Or not as it wasn't as much of a sure thing, I guess. So
it wasn't talked about as much either.
Right. So when that got spoiled on Twitter, that moment sucked for me. Because I was excited anyway, but had I not known he was there in the movie watching it, I probably would have went nuts. So it didn't ruin it, but it could have been a better experience for the first time if I had not known that. Or even like, Batman Begins is my favorite Batman movie. I've never stopped gushing about it. I knew the Ra's al Ghul twist before the movie. Sure. I wish I didn't know that. I also knew the Joker card. I wish I didn't know that. So, I don't like spoilers very much.
That's fine. I'm okay with spoilers because I don't think a first viewing of a movie is everything. Mm-hmm. I think the subsequent viewings after that are more important, and by that point, you have already seen everything, and spoilers and a big shock won't matter. I do understand the first time watching something though, and that experience of watching something for the first time. So I agree with that that moment where you can't take that away. That's a
Mhm.
separate moment. So
Right.
there's enjoying the movie, but then there's that feeling you had the first time of watching something. So I understand that, but I don't get bent out of shape about spoilers. I understand why people would, because people view things in a different way. They consume things in different ways. So I'm okay with spoilers. I often forget about spoilers, and I often forget that people care about spoilers as well. That's
Sometimes.
my 2023 New Year's resolution, is to not spoil as much as possible. But I don't mind spoilers because the first viewing of something is not important to me. In saying that, I don't know. I think it depends on the spoiler as well,
Yeah.
and how big it is. Like I'm thinking about The Last of Us Part Two. There's a giant spoiler in that game that I didn't know about, and I was glad I didn't know about it going into playing the game.
Hmm.
But then if I did know about it, I don't know how I would have felt about it. So I mean, I'm trying to think of the last real big thing that I was spoiled on that bothered me. Is yours just Batman Begins?
Oh, if we're talking about like latest spoiler that bothered me, it might
Yeah,
have been the Matt Murdock thing, which again, it didn't ruin the movie, didn't ruin the scene, but I would have preferred to see it as, with fresh eyes.
sure.
I think that'd probably be most true because I generally do avoid spoilers as I avoid them like the plague most of the time. That's
Hmm.
why I don't even watch multiple trailers, which is, Grab's comment here. I don't like when people complain about a trailer being spoiled. I think that's taking it a bit too far. I agree with that too. I've seen people complain like when just not the movie, the trailer is spoiled for them.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, to each
Nobody
their
told
own.
you to watch it.
Yeah, I respect your opinion, sir. That's how I feel. He also says you
Yeah.
have to be okay with spoilers, Emmett. The world wouldn't make sense otherwise.
Hmm. Zeddy.
Zeddy has an ulterior motive here, fellas.
Yeah, Zeddy, you're on the wrong stream, man. You gotta start bugging the nerd room guys. You gotta start planting your flag in on your Twitter profile to get these movies and get the box office as big as possible.
For those who don't know, Zeddy is doing the fantasy movie draft with the Nerd Room guys, and these are his movie picks. So he's hoping that everybody goes to see them so he could win. I mean, not a bad idea though. And we
He'll need
support
some help
Zeddy,
with Wonka. He'll need some help with Wonka, that's for sure.
maybe, but we support Zeddy. I will see all these
Oh,
movies.
oh there you go.
Some things need to stay. Ian says some things need to stay unspoiled. Just imagine who Kaiser Sose was before watching the Usual Suspects. That moment blew my mind the first time. Yeah, or like Seven. If you knew the head was in the box,
Yep,
it kind of takes the scream. It's not as fun.
I get it. Yep, I do
I'll
agree.
see Wonka. I promise.
I don't know if I'll see Wonka. Oh boy, Jesus, Timothy Chalamet. Oh,
I
mm.
probably will because I like Timothy Chalamet, and I think the Wonka character is interesting.
Mm.
But I don't want to be spoiled on that either.
What do you think? Big spoilers for Wonka?
Yeah, there's
Something
going to be
happens to one of the
something.
Oompa Loompas.
Like no, the twist, like how he discovers chocolate or something. I'm sure there's a spoiler there.
That's right. Big spoilers from Wonka.
Yeah, there could be spoilers.
Spoilers are everywhere, though, and people have an opinion about everything as well.
Yes.
So if you don't want to be, I think when I was going into the Matrix, the new Matrix, and I can't remember what it was called now.
Reloaded? No, that's the second one.
No, that's another one. I was thinking Revolutions, but that's the
Is that
third
the
one.
third one?
Yeah, what Resurrections? I I remember I muted the words on Twitter, and that
Yeah.
seemed to help. So there are ways to avoid them on Twitter specifically.
Um,
Um,
Cookie has a great pointer. When movies have a big twist, they tend to stay quiet. Recently, think of Barbarian. That is true. But also, I wonder because Barbarian was a gigantic movie. I wonder if that's why it was more quiet.
mhm.
But then also, like, the Ant-Man Quantumania script, the whole thing leaked just now. I
Oh
haven't
no.
seen a single spoiler yet.
Hmm.
So maybe that's true.
Hmm.
That was a great example though, Barbarian.
Absolutely. Well, Jesus. Oh man, I can't. I think about that movie all the time. It just creeps me out. Jesus, Justin Long, you son of a bitch.
I hate Justin Long.
I like Justin Long lots. His character, not so much.
No, I'm done. Every time he's in something, he just deserves to get whatever he gets.
He deserves to have to drink the teat of some deranged old woman.
That's what he signed up for.
That's right.
Unless it's like
I hope he got paid lots of money for that.
he probably did. Yeah. Probably more than he got paid for. He's just not that into you, which is a great movie, by the way.
Uh-huh.
It's a good rom-com.
Yeah, right. So that's our poll from this week, guys, about spoilers. Thanks to everyone in the comments for commenting, and then thanks for the replies on our Twitter as well. We might have a poll this week. We'll see if we get back into our regular science and we'll stuff. If you guys have any thoughts for polls, feel free to hit us up as well. It's hard to come up with science polls every once in a while. We are open for polls. Another account that's doing lots of polls lately is Phil at the movies. He's got a lot of good horror polls lately, and I liked his one recently about their favorite sequel to the Scream movies. It's crazy to think how many there are now, and going to be
6.
So that's the polls. Let's get some more polls. Guys, if you have any thoughts for polls, hit us up via DM or just reach out on Twitter, and we will get to them.
Put on those lab coats. Let's see what you got.
That's right. Chris, anything else you want to talk about before we get on out of here?
Yes. So Zeddy mentioned this earlier, and I wanted to remind everyone. The new Ryan Johnson Poker Face show with Natasha Lyonne comes out this week. I think that's going to be a pretty fun time. It's going to be on Peacock.
Produced it. Okay.
Yeah. Or produced, I'm sorry. I think it's going to be a pretty good time. After Glass Onion, as long as it's not Star Wars, I want to watch whatever this man is doing. Or I'll even watch it.
He just produced it. He's not writing or directing or anything?
I really don't know. I thought that he did more than produce, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
But it looks really fun, and I think it's going to be a fun week. We got Last of Us coming. I didn't know this, but they filmed a pilot for a Cruel Intentions TV series, and Sarah Michelle Gellar's in it.
Whoa.
Yeah, I remember when they made it, but I didn't know that it was available online if you look for it. So I'm looking forward to watching that.
Nice.
And we have some fun comics this week, too. It's going to be a good time.
Outstanding. We will be back next Sunday talking about a whole bunch of other stuff. And we're going to come at you with a new episode of Last for the Geeks with Chris, I, and Nico from V39, who'll be out on Thursday. Thanks there, fellas. Thank you. Thank you, Cookie. Thank you, Eddie.
Okay, Ian's got the credits for us. It's just produced by.
Very good.
So yeah, I guess that's all he's doing with it. Don't spoil what next week's episode is about. All the stuffs.
Anyways, thanks so much, guys, for watching. Thanks to everybody in the comments. Ian, Grabs, Phil, Eric, Cookie,
Tim.
Lauren, Tim. Think that was everybody. If I forgot you, I'm sorry, but thanks so much for watching and commenting as well, guys. You guys are the best every Sunday night, and we'll be back next Sunday on YouTube. And then make sure you check out your podcast feed for Last of the Geeks on Thursday. Chris, hit us up with some plugs, bud.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at thatchris70. But as usual, I prefer you guys follow the show over at G of the Geeks. Emmet is better with the other plug, so he'll take over.
You can follow me on Twitter at EmmettDavis7. Gathering of the Geeks is available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Gathering of the Geeks and you will find us. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. And saying all that for Chris, and I'm Emmet, and we gather on Sundays.
Have a great week, guys.